What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, and subscribing to Jobu's Day Job. And I am here. We've got a little bit of warm weather today and tomorrow, and where we pointed up the bricks, um, we are going to get those painted up here with our brick primer and our breathable brick paint. Um, because brick are actually a living and breathing thing, especially when you have old bricks. Um, what's funny is, um, I don't claim to be an expert at stuff here. I'm telling you things that I have learned through doing carpentry work and things for 50 years and having done multiple old projects, antique houses, and even the Smithsonian. I've done work on the Smithsonian Castle after the earthquake in one of the turrets. So, things that I have learned or my thoughts I share here. So, I had seen a post on my old house, and it was a lady who was asking questions about insulating her house and having had experience with dealing with old houses and how things change. You can't do what you would normally do with a house that's built today because things are different. And somebody had said use um, spray foam because it's great because it really seals up. And I decided to do a video saying that I would never use it on my own projects and gave reasons why I wouldn't. In that video, I've gotten attacked because they've told me I'm an idiot, I'm ill informed, um, and so on. Well, again, my opinions are my personal opinions. And of course, they went through that you can't just make decisions on what you read in Reader's Digest. I hear what you're saying. Um, my response to one of those was to the quotes, and I said, listen, this is a fact. In England, insurance companies will not insure you if you've used spray foam insulation in the attic because they can't see what's behind it. As a carpenter, or if you want to say jack of all trades, when I go into a wall that has been spray foamed and need to run a circuit, it ends up being a big mess because it's now solid. The closing up completely and making airtight, which is great to save you money on energy, also means there's not an exchange with fresh air. And if the chemicals are leaching from it, they are sitting in your house. And I talked about how FEMA trailers, FEMA trailers that they had, and maybe that was different spray foam that they used. But FEMA trailers that they had that used spray foam insulation were toxic, that they were causing cancer. Now, there's a lot of things because this is where it really gets to be funny. The guy justified the spray on foam by saying there's a lot of things that leach chemicals in the house. Yeah, this is very true. But if everybody's robbing the bank, does that mean you should rob it too? Um, you want to mitigate as much toxins as possible. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I didn't tell you, I didn't say for you not to use it. I said I would never use it. And I would never use it on anybody I care about properly. And if I did, somebody wanted me to use it, I would give them my personal concerns, rightly or wrongly. Because see, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of new things that come out in the construction industry that at first seem great. I remember my townhouse, the first house that I bought, had FRT plywood, fire rated plywood that they had to put on the roof. Problem with that was it started delaminating. And so people had to get the roofs replaced prematurely because the heat and the moisture would build up in it. That same townhouse had the first generation of plastic pipe, the gray pipe, which was great because the plumbers loved it because they could put tons of that stuff up in hours. But what they found out, and it was cheap, what they found out about it was the chemicals in your water to make it safe ended up degenerating the pipes. And all of a sudden, someplace you get a soft spot on the pipes, and they would all of a sudden fail. I remember one of my neighbors going on vacation and coming back and their basement flooded because of this pipe. For those that are a little older, I remember when they came out with aluminum wiring because it was cheaper than copper. Of course, people like to save money. But what they found out was the aluminum wiring, you needed to use like a lug grease. We use aluminum wiring for service cable, but you got to use a grease that basically keeps it from oxidizing, so that way it ends up still making good contact. Because what happens is over time it oxidizes. So you can't buy like 12-2 or 14-2 aluminum wire anymore for your house, because these were all new things that came up with that were great at the time, but they since found out there might be a problem. There used to be, they stopped buying laminate flooring. Lumber liquidators got in trouble for this because they were buying laminate flooring from China that leached formaldehyde. Formaldehyde, cancer causer. So you can say I'm ill-informed, I don't know what I'm talking about, that there's different types of, spray and insulation, and, some of it's good, some of it's bad. But if you buy a house and you look at the spray and insulation, or if it's behind the wall, how do you know what is which? Again, I am just a guy who's worked on houses for 50 years. I'm not certified or anything like that. I've gone to the school of hard knocks when it comes to construction work. So feel free. If you don't want to believe what I say, that's cool. That's fine. And you're completely entitled to your opinion, like I'm entitled to mine. And I will say this, having been around for 59 years, and now seeing so many different types of cancer, so many different aggressive cancers. My brother literally was eaten up by cancer, one of the strongest people I know, in a couple of months. Seeing kids with all these different cancers and things. I don't remember all of these things happening when I was young, before we had houses that were completely airtight with sprayable chemicals. I don't remember my mom cooking on all this non-stick pans and things that leach forever chemicals. So yeah, we got a lot of this shit in everything. That doesn't mean you want to add more to it. Anyway, one other thing I was told too. I was explaining what I've learned about this house. This front corner up here. Let me show you. Here's what happened. Explain this. The gutters that were here when the city owned it, the downspouts were gone. And what happened was all the water from the two roofs would come down and it would run down the side of this. And I talked about soft bricks, and I was told bricks aren't stamped soft and hard. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. When I say soft bricks, I am talking about these bricks here that were handmade 205 years ago back here. They are much softer, and the same thing with the lime mortar that's in here. This lime mortar, it's actually limestone that's ground up with just basically an aggregate. You can actually see some of the bigger chunks and stuff that are in there. And this mortar is almost like a putty. It's not the same thing as we have now. The mortar we have now is very, very hard and does not move. These expand and contract. And what happened was the side of this house, because of the freezing and thawing and the moisture going inside of the brick, ended up freezing and thawing and knocking out the mortar, and it knocked out some of the bricks here, and it made it look like the foundation was jacked up. So what the city had done, what the city had done was they got a brick mason out, or they got a guy out who came out with some regular bricks and put them in with some regular mortar. Because this freezed and thawed and everything else in a different rate, it literally kicked the whole thing out. And so I was explaining that to him, and I was told, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. So let me show you here the difference of a hard brick versus a soft brick. These bricks right here, this is a modern brick right here. Okay? They're perfectly exactly the same throughout. It's hard. And it doesn't expand and contract the same way that these homemade bricks do. Let me go over here because I have some. And you can see where we're putting the primer on here first before we paint them. So when we look at this brick here, this is a handmade brick that's 205 years old that was made here. This brick, see that? How easy it breaks? This one, that's the difference. The hard bricks, they're hard. The old clay bricks are very, very soft. And you can see they're permeable. And so they suck up moisture. And so that's what I'm told. You don't know what you're talking about. You go ahead and use some regular mortar on your bricks and things and see how well it works. I've learned this the hard way because, see, we've gone through making our lime mortar, which is like the same mortar that they used on it originally. So feel free to take my advice or not take my advice, or even better, listen to what I have to say and then do your research behind it and find out what is the best solution for your home with the age of it and the things that you may have going on with it. There you go. Have a good one, good people.